Hi, I've been doing this video using my diamond core tools, and I just wanted to let you know that before I do this video all over, these tools have been sent to me, and I'm very grateful for them because they're really nice tools to assess, basically. So I've got a variety of these tools, and I've got a whole bunch of carvings I had to do anyway, and this is the type of tool I do work with when I'm doing these carvings. So it seems fair that I've actually agreed to do an assessment of them. But I don't do videos to advertise things. Usually I've turned down a couple of things this year because I didn't use the equipment that they were asking me to assess, whereas the diamond core tools I actually do use. So that's why I've agreed to do this. So we'll get on with it. Okay, this is probably going to be inserted in one of my other videos, but I just got my new tools from Diamond Core Tools, and I'll give you the numbers of them. It's Fp7, Fp6 fine point, and Fp8. I am really liking these tools. I actually I've got a really fine point one somewhere around here too. This one, Fp4, which I think will replace the one that I always use. It's got a deeper cutting edge than the little piece of wire that I usually use in my tool, but it's got just the same fine point profile. Not sure if you can see it against the window there, but so it's a really nice fine point edge, and I've actually been feeling that they don't leave a burr, and that's what I'm beginning to feel like is really useful about these. But they're hard to actually find a problem with. I mean, because of the price, I actually feel like it's got to work really well, and it does. So, but they also come with a spare head, which is nice, so you don't have to throw away the whole tool. You can just keep buying the heads. Okay, I have sketched out a tile that I'm going to carve, and I'm trying to carve this one with some new tools that I got from Diamond Core Tools. And I've been using these to try and see what they do, and I am very happy with them. They're very sharp, and they don't leave a burr, which is really nice when you're doing something with clay. If it's a little bit too soft, sometimes you can leave a burr, but these seem to be able to get away with that, and that's nice. But I have specifically got these tools because they have a flat edge, as you can see, so I can carve a larger area. Okay, so the sky was done completely with this tool, and that was the Fp8. Okay, so all of that was done using this tool here, which is the FP1 with a very sharp V-shaped groove on the end. There are two very similar versions of that, and this is the FP4. So I could have done, but this has got a slightly wider curve to it, and this is a very narrow point, which is why I chose it. But it just shows without any burr being raised, I was able to do a drawing that's quite fine using those two tools, I guess, because I'm sure I could do it without one too, but this one gives a finer line. And so my next thing that I have to do is to actually I'll use the FP4 this time, I guess. But I'm basically still continue some drawing and then going to be carving out all of the water itself. So on this one, I'm just going to doing a sort of a reflection underneath the boats. It's nice to do this one too. It's just an identifying the shadow basically. We have our first sailboat moored outside the studio today, and it's 9th of April, sign of spring. People are bringing their boats out into the water. We could still get snow. It won't be cold, and it'll probably melt straight away, but we do, often get snow in April. I like reflections. They're kind of nice and free. I've done some tile pieces in the past that are nothing but reflections in the water, and it's very interesting to do it that way. Just tells me to do a little darker in those areas when I do this. Of course, the harbor will probably be mostly dark anyway. This is a commission. I'm doing 2 of them, and the man who has a sports car, so I've put it down in the bottom just to be nice. So this will be, it's actually a gift for somebody, I think, but anyway, so we've got the reflections in, so that was with FP4, and then now I have to choose to do, I think I'm going to use try it with this FP7 first as a sort of a curve to this one. Can we see it? I have to remember where the camera is, and if you can get, that's a nice flat curve. I think I should be able to try to get, because mostly the water will be just white clay, so I'm going to be carving very lightly without leaving too much of the lines. Usually I end up with all these black lines that give the piece a little movement and energy. But I'm going to be trying to take away all the black lines in the area in the distance, giving a little wavy motion. Doesn't matter if I leave a little bit of a black, but I'm just going to try to leave very little. That's a nice gentle curve. So I'm holding the tool very gently, just to try and give it a bit of a wave, like a vibration, so that the line isn't sort of static. I have a little yellow there, which I'm going to debate whether to take that out or not. It's in case I want to put a reflection of the sun in the piece. But the burr that lifts with the tool is not sticking to the clay. The tool lifts it slightly, so that's what I think I like about these tools. That are they're not made of wire. It's a flat, very sharp piece of strip metal. I assume it'll be tempered steel or something. So I think it's doing a good job, so I'll put you on fast motion while I'm doing all this water because it put you to sleep. Okay, all of that was done with this curved tool Fp7, and it really did a good job, but it's very even and I don't like the evenness of it, so I'm going to give this tool a go, which is Fp9, and see whether we can get rid of the evenness a little bit just by dragging that backwards and forwards, rubbing out the kind of parallel wiggly lines that I've sort of created. So this tool has a sort of a curve to it. It's very curved on one side and got an angle at the other. So it's just meant to be kind of getting rid of. There's a variety of ways you could do this, but this tool's doing a good job. It's easy to pull backwards and forwards, so it's kind of smoothing in one direction, cutting in the other direction. But the idea is just to break up that evenness of the parallel lines. So there's kind of a gradation, leaving more black in the lower I get down in this picture plane, which is more close. It's closer to me, basically, so that you can see a bit more black in the water. Because in reality, you would see more detail the closer you're getting to you. Okay, now I'm going to go back to this tool because there's a little bit I forgot about just there. That's about it. I don't think I forgot any other. It's easy to forget something. Just this one little schooner, I forgot to take the white out of the gaps there. Okay, so that's good. Now the reflections, I don't have a tool that I use for that from the Diamond Core tools, but this is a Kemper tool, number RK, no, is it R? K27. And it's got two pins chiseled off at the end that actually I like to use for my shadows. So I'm basically just creating a double parallel line wherever I carve. which speeds up the actual line making quality of the piece. You could make this tool by taking some nails or sewing needles and just grinding them flat at the end, and just getting a piece of Fimo clay and gluing them into a piece of Fimo clay. Or actually just putting them into the Fimo clay, and the Fimo clay you bake in the oven, and that would actually harden it enough to hold the pins, and you could create one of these with 3, 4 pins, whatever number you want. I use one like that with 4 pins for my just scratching and scoring. When I'm doing attaching, hand building type things. And this tool is good because I also use it if the clay is in the right condition to make my wharf going right down to the wood. Nope, it's a bit sticky, this clay still. When I do this and the clay is a bit dry, I can pull the piece out in the center. It worked on that piece there. So I'm just creating the wharf itself. But this only works really good if the clay is almost ready to, not quite dry. Because this is sticking in the little holes instead of coming out. So I'll probably end up waiting till tomorrow morning to do this again. Because I wrap these up slightly overnight so they don't dry completely. Because timing is everything. This piece has been worked on all day, and it's going to take another 3-4 hours tomorrow to actually finish it. Of course, you got to be really careful when you're doing something like this as well, that you don't put any weight on the tile, because it will, the drier it gets, which is easier to carve, as long as it doesn't get totally dry, more brittle the clay is, and you can just crack it just by leaning on it just a tiny little bit, which would be kind of annoying if you've spent all this time doing it. So I've learned to keep my arms up in the air, which is not good for your shoulders, but that's just the way it is. My wife says she can't do these pieces because her shoulders hurt too much. And I've done videos on shoulder pain, so I'm sure it does damage to me too. Shoulder exercises, yep. It's worked okay. It's just it's taken a bit of time getting that out. Okay, so now I've got to go back to using. I could try this one. Let's see what we've got here. This is the Fp6 tool, and I have to carve out. And I think maybe I'll end up using the flat edge one again. But let's see whether I can do it with this, because this is a bit more detailed. It's a bit smaller. It's a curved edge, not a sharp point. It's doing a pretty good job actually. So it gives the appearance of clapboard in the building architecture. I should give you a close-up look at that. So there you go, that's that tool there. I think you'll get the idea here. Clapboard going sideways there. And then the fine point tool again. To do the roof tiles. Yeah, this fine point tool is really good. It lifts the little piece of clay. So it doesn't stick it to the This is the curved edge one again. I don't think that one will be useful there. I'll go back to this one that has a bit, this is a little bit too wide, I think, but we'll see. Just right. see whether I can get this. I'm looking to do a window, so I don't think these will work for that window, but let's see. Actually, it's not bad. Yep, it worked. Just a little 4-pane window thing kind of idea. Could put a couple of windows in the door. Boy, this can get some nice detail there. In the lighthouse, let's just make it. I'll probably paint this white anyway. And then I need the flat edge tool again. So I'm going to go right down to the red clay here. That's a really deep line carving area there. Because I painted 3 coats of white on these. It's quite thick, 3 coats of white. I never go much more than 3 because it's just too hard to carve when you get that deep. So it makes the piece really 3-dimensional here. That might be too wide there, but let's see. It's close. It worked. Okay, so I think I'll go and continue this in the morning. Okay, it's day 2 of carving this piece. So I'm going to try the FP4 at this point. Now I've got to be careful because this is getting much drier now, that it's weighted with these pieces on the corners to stop it curling up. But I mustn't put any weight on it either. So I try to hold my arm underneath my other one while I'm carving. And as you can see, this becomes quite a physically demanding thing to keep doing, because you've got to be very careful that you don't put any weight on that piece, which means you're holding your shoulder up all the time. So this is just vertical clapboard that I'm carving at this point. And also I've got to keep brushing away, so I have to try to hold my arm and also brush. but there is absolutely no burr using these tools. So I'm going to put you on stop motion so it doesn't take as long for you to watch this part. Okay, I had to help some customers out, so I got distracted for a while. So I've just been painting in the sailboats and the actual lobster boats down here. You're just using underglaze. It's CN series here, but I use CCs and CNs, of course, but depends on which color I like the best. And I'm painting on greenware, so I know some of them are recommended for bisqueware, but I make sure that when I do it, I don't fire anything on top of the ones that are for bisqueware, because those ones go glossy and they would stick to anything sitting on top, but these are fired individually basically. So it's been carved out, so I have layers of texture, so I have to be very careful when I'm doing this, but it works as long as you just take your time. And the white that I'm painting is just my white slip. Because this piece is nearly finished now. This is usually one of the last things I do because it all gets wet at this point. And this slip actually does stick to leather hard clay because it's the Robin Hoppen sort of slip recipe. I've actually almost dry clay I've put it on and it still works. But you have to be careful because it can crack your piece if you get a piece that's dry and re-wet it. It will start to get cracks in it, especially at the edges. Yeah, I would say we're very close now. I've got a little texturing to do. I've got to paint some brown for the actual. I use a brown underglaze CC. I think CC is meant for to greenware or bisque. So CCs are the ones that you add onto greenware or bisque, and the CNs are the ones that should be just used on bisque work. But like I said, I've actually done it on greenware. Just have to be a little careful that you don't fire something on top, because that would get glossy and stick the two pieces together. So this is just for looks, because the actual masts of a boat are often just white, but I always feel like in my paintings they look better if they're painted to appear like they're wood. just makes them stand out rather than being black, which I think is actually too dark. I like to do it just that brown to emphasize the edges of the masts. And because it's already black, it's got a definition to it anyway. But I just like the brown. So I don't drink coffee before I have to paint these straight lines. Yep, you don't want to get the shakes when you're doing this. I just posted my bisque firing tweaking video yesterday. It looks like a lot of people enjoyed that video, and I just unpacked the bisque kiln today and everything was perfect. That was, I fired it just using the slow bisque profile. That's pre-programmed into the Bartlett controllers. And I think it's a really good profile because I just don't have things cracking in that profile. Hi, it's Vaughan again. I've been carving a lot of pieces in the last week. I've really given these tools a good workout and I'm satisfied with them. I think that the sharpness, the durability of these tools is still, I'm debating because I haven't used them for very long, but all the signs show me that these tools are actually superior to the ones I was using before. I especially like that the burr, when you're lifting the piece of clay out, actually lifts and doesn't stay attached to the tile itself. So the clay is lifted and then it comes off a lot easier without leaving that burr. So, you know, I would give these a try and, you know, just see the numbers. I was trying to tell you which ones I was using. So, but you determine which ones you need, I guess, and treat yourself. It's, you know, we only live once, I guess. Anyway, thanks for joining me for these videos. All right, bye.